Hey folks, Jack here with another episode of Miyagi Mornings on a dreary, dark, and gray Wednesday morning. A little bit chilly. Good news though for us today is since it's dreary and dark and there's not sun blazing on this place like there is a lot in the morning, I got good lighting. I can give you a video in front of the big Miyagi. So today what we're going to talk about is the concept of even if it's not your fault, it is your problem. I'm going to make a little bit of a gear shift today, and instead of being kind of like your older brother that just came back from the Marine Corps to kick you in the ass and tell you to get up off the couch and go do something with your life, be a little bit more like your grandfather, a little more compassionate, a little more gentle. And I am a grandfather, so I have experience in this. But I'll also tell you from experience with my grandparents and of being a grandparent, grandfathers have a way of striking a nerve while being compassionate, and maybe even more so than when they're being brutal, so strap in anyway. So this is something that kind of adds to yesterday's episode, where we had a very young white male explaining to me how I was a privileged white male, and that's why I had things that he didn't, which, as I said yesterday, you can only fault that person so much because they're defaulting to their training. And when put under stress, you default to training. You learn that in the military. So whatever people say you default to your highest level of training. No, you default to your lowest level of training. The higher the stress, the lower the level of training you default to. So you want to push the training as high as possible so that the minimum level is sufficient to keep people alive. That's the military. So people default to that primal reptile instinct, that survival mode in their training when they're put in a situation. So believe it or not, for some people being told, hey, look, this is what you got to do with your life in the coming decades if you want freedom in it, is very stressful for people that think, I can't do that. They think that not that they would be nice or whatever, but they really believe, like, there's no way I can ever do that, and their default training is it's somebody else's fault. Here's the problem with that thinking, and this is not for those people today, by the way, that I've shifted gears with my tone. It's for the people that listen to me. They generally agree, they nod their head, and then they still don't go do what needs to be done. Because we all do it at times. It's a matter of degrees. How consistently do you not do what needs to be done in your life to get what you want? Because those people can be helped. Those people can look at something with logic and reason and more every day grow a little bit in their walk so that they take a little bit more and more responsibility. And so when people tell me you don't understand all these things that happen to me, they're both correct and they're both incorrect, okay? And what I mean by that is, do I understand exactly what happened to you? Well, given that I talk to 250,000 people a day with my podcast, no, I don't. I can't. If I wanted to, I couldn't. If I know somebody really well and I can tell you their story, I still don't understand it from their eyes and from their soul and from their heart. I understand it better than I understand what you're telling me in a YouTube comment about why you can't, but no one can ever fully understand anybody else's problems. It doesn't fucking matter. Okay, kids? It doesn't fucking matter. It's still your problem. And when I look at some people who use this excuse and look at all the options that I can come up with off the top of my head of things they could do to make their life a little bit better, and I think of some of the stories that I know of people who have really suffered and had nothing to do with their suffering and still went on with their lives. When I look at the contrast in that, I just think it's so sad. And I'm telling you, the people you need to share this one with are the young people. The young people are still open to the fact that they can change their lives. People in their 20s, especially if they've been through the damn university system. The university system is a disaster today. It destroys minds. It destroys capability. It destroys responsibility. It destroys initiative. It is the worst thing that has happened to our country, and I would say to the developed world in the last 50 years, is the university system. I know that's hard to take, but it is, because why we have people that can't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. If you're a 20-something and this makes a little bit of sense to you, hang on. We're gonna keep going from here. Here's an example. I know a lady named Lynn Albright. I've met her in real life a couple times. She's the mother of a young man named Ross Albright. Ross built a website where illegal activity occurred. But that's all he did, he built a website. And he's in prison, in federal prison, for double life plus 40. No chance of ever seeing the sun again. Every appeal, every option has been exhausted. Lynn has worked for years trying to do anything for her son, and she's a broken person in some ways. When I met her the first time, I said, "Oh my God, you're Lynn Albright," and I just hugged her because it was all I had. It's all I could do. And you can feel a person who's broken, but then you feel something else. It's a little bit of steel. And when I look at what Lynn's done, even though her efforts to get her son out of prison have sadly failed, she's done an incredible amount for people in the way that they think about liberty and awakening them to the tyranny that they live under. Because she didn't quit, because even though it wasn't her fault, it is her problem. And that's how problems are. It doesn't matter how you got the problem. If you buy a car, and it's a brand new car, it's supposed to have brand new tires on it, and they put some crappy ass tire on there that's been patched poorly and it goes flat in the middle of nowhere, guess what? Guess who has to figure out how to put the spare on the damn tire, or call AAA if you have a AAA membership, or walk somewhere where you can get, it's all you. And here's the dangerous thing going on in the world today. Not only have people been convinced that it's not your problem, or it's not your fault, so therefore not only have people been convinced it's not their fault, they've been convinced that since it's not their fault, which it may or may not be true, but since nothing's your fault, then nothing is your responsibility to correct. Someone else needs to do it for you. And they've been further convinced that the government is going to fix it eventually. This is very, very dangerous. If you went on a hike in the woods and sprained your ankle and couldn't move and couldn't go on, and you were lost in some way, but people knew that you were supposed to check in, and they knew the general area you were in and where you were going to, you have a reasonable expectation that when you don't check in, they're going to contact authorities and they're going to come find you. And being obnoxious, making a lot of noise, staying in one place, if you do leave, leaving immense sign behind of what direction you've traveled in, starting fires, making smoke, all of that is a great idea. Because somebody is probably going to come find you eventually. And as long as you have enough water, you probably won't starve to death before it happens. If you can take care of shelter and water, and you're in that scenario, you'll probably be okay. Unfortunately, many of you see yourselves that way. You're lost on the trail, but you think someone's coming to help you. Now, if you went for a hike out in the middle of nowhere, not on a major trail system where people happen to come by all the time, and you got lost and you knew that nobody knew where you were, it might be a good idea to hunker down for the night so you can get your bearings in the morning. But what's going to happen to you if you stay there and wait for someone to come get you? You're going to die. You're going to sit there and die. You're going to sit there and die with, "This isn't my fault," in your mind, when actually it is your fault. But let's imagine that it wasn't your fault. Let's come up with another scenario. A bunch of guys grab you for no reason at all, throw you in the back of a dark van, drive you out in the middle of the woods and throw your ass out in the pitch black dark of night and leave in a spiral pattern where you can't tell where they went, or drop you off in a helicopter. And you know no one's coming. But you convince yourself, since it's not your fault, somebody should come. So I'm going to wait. You people that are waiting on solutions from the government for the problems in your life, that's you. You're sitting in the middle of the wilderness. You're waiting on an E&E team that is not coming to get you. But it's not your fault. Again, it doesn't matter. If you're in that scenario, even if you fail in your attempt to extract yourself, the only one that can extract yourself is you. And this is my final point with this, and what you really need to understand. No one cares about you and your life and your problems and your solutions and your happiness more than you. No one will work harder in your life than you will, and most of you are not working that hard in your life. So how hard do you think a politician who's being paid off by a K Street lobbyist, regardless of the initial after their name, is going to work for you? And the answer is they're not working for you at all. They don't give a flying shit about you. They never did, and they never will. Even the ones that go there with the right heart, the system destroys that heart in a matter of months. It's not designed to work for you. It's designed to work for the people that pay them, not that pay the bills. You pay the bills. They pay the employees. Those are the people you think of as public servants. And there's so many other examples of this in your life. If you're waiting for a solution, you're sitting in the woods, all alone, in the cold, with limited supplies. Somehow you got there that wasn't your fault. You were abducted by aliens and dropped off in the middle of the Bob Marshall Wilderness, but you've convinced yourself someone's coming. Nobody's coming. Nobody's coming to save you. But you can build what you want in your life if you step up to the plate and you realize no matter what's wrong in your life, no matter why it happened, no matter how responsible you are for it or how matter how not responsible you are for the bad things. And everybody's life works this way. There's a group of things that you're totally not responsible for, there's a group of things that you're partially responsible for, and there's a group of things that you're 100% responsible for. Guess what? They're all your problem, guys. I'll be with you tomorrow with another episode.